Hey everybody, today we're going to do something cool for Valentine's Day. Now it's a little bit late for this year, but for next year it can be a lot of fun. It takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of work ahead of time. Lots and lots of fun though. So what we did was, you know how it goes. Where do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. Where do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. Well, what kind of food do you want tonight? I don't know. So what we did was, she's going to cook my favorite, I'm going to cook her favorite. And that's what we're going to do for Valentine's Day dinner tonight. Come on, it'll be fun.
What? Oh, I'm here, you can't get stupid?
No, because you're not any fun.
Well, that's not fair. Anyway,
you don't know how to get stupid.
Just so you know, it's not my favorite.
You got stupid that one time. Just saying.
Well, I mean, that is true. Okay. The piece of resistance is dessert. Obviously, you can make the most decadent meal, but you have to have dessert, right? Well, tonight we're going to show you how to make a bourbon pecan with peach glaze cheesecake. Come on, now let's go get stupid. Normally, we're gonna make our crust first, and normally I would use graham crackers for traditional gingerbread. I'm sorry, for a traditional cheesecake. I can't think, I've got gingerbread on my brain because I was hoping to use ginger snaps with this, but Pecan Sandy's is one of his favorites, so I'm gonna use that as the base instead of the graham crackers. And I've got my food processor here, and I'm just gonna leave the blade in, and we're gonna use a full package, less one cookie because somebody ate one. I'm gonna put that in here. And we're just gonna get these, we're gonna blitz them so that they become a crumb. All right. Alrighty. So there's our crumbs. And I'm gonna take the blade out because we don't need the blade anymore. And we're gonna take this, let's set that aside, not necessary. And to this, I'm gonna add about a half cup of our proprietary blend of bourbon pecan spice mixture. I'm gonna put that in there. I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar and 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And that's just gonna help this come together. And we're gonna stir this up. And I'm gonna let it set aside just for a little bit because I want that moisture to get all the way through all of those crumbs. So we're gonna let it set, and I'll show you what we're gonna do. And you typically, with a normal cheesecake, you would do this same kind of crust, like I said. The only difference is I've added that spice blend mixture and I've used the cookies. All right, we're gonna get our pan ready. I've got a 9-inch springform pan here, and I like to line it with parchment paper. It makes the cheesecake come out a lot faster. And if you've ever struggled with lining a pan with parchment, springform is wonderful. Make sure that you cut a square big enough, put your springform pan around it, voila. And then just go behind and just tear it off. There is no scissors, no cutting involved. As long as you've gotten it tightened, look at that. Look how fast and easy that is. Voila, done. Look at that. All right, so I'm gonna press this down in there, and I'm gonna take, remember our crumbs that we've had setting aside? We're just gonna mix that up one more time. Just make sure I've got all that butter incorporated. And we're gonna dump that in the bottom of our pan. And now you can do this 2 ways. You can do one of 2 things, okay? So you can press the crumbs in with your hand, or I've got, or somebody's eating my stuff. Well, I'm trying to record on that camera, not just this camera. So, and just go ahead and you're gonna press this in. You want it to be about a 1/4 of an inch on the bottom. You don't want to be too thick, you don't want to be too thin, but you're going to press it along the sides, okay? And you want to make sure that you get it across the bottom, nice and even, and use the flat bottom cup. Like I said, you can use your fingers, but the cup is so much easier because you get a little bit more control. Whoops, that's not what you want to do. And just go ahead and press that crust in really well. Now, some recipes call for baking this first, and you can. I don't typically, because then you have to let it cool, and I'm just a little bit impatient about that.
Just a little.
What?
Said I love you, honey.
Happy Valentine's Day. All right. So it looks like we've got it pretty even here. All right. So that's our crust. That's what it looks like. Can you guys see that? It's perfect. It smells fantastic too, by the way. All right. So we're going to set this aside. For our filling, we're going to make just a traditional plain cheesecake filling, because with that crust and the peaches that we're going to put on top, that really is going to give you enough. So first we're going to start with 4 blocks of cream cheese that have been softened, and I have a feeling that these probably aren't as soft as they need to be. I didn't let them sit out long enough, but that's okay. We can just beat the crap out of them and that'll work. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. A lot of cream cheese in this. Like I said, a decadent dessert. Woo. All right, 4 blocks of cream cheese, and I'm gonna just take that and we're gonna blend this up and we're gonna get it going. All right, our cream cheese is mixed, and now I'm gonna add a cup of granulated sugar, and we're gonna get this so we're gonna mix it until it's light and fluffy. And this process is what we call creaming. So you're gonna cream together the cream cheese and the sugar, and you want, like I said, you wanna get it until it's a lighter and fluffier mixture. All right, all of our sugar has been incorporated. We've got a nice creamy but fluffy mixture, no more lumps left. And now we're gonna add 4 eggs. And your eggs need to be at room temperature. If you forget to put your eggs at room temperature, you can actually take them, put them in a bowl of warm water for about 10 minutes, and that'll bring them up to room temperature and you'll be good to go. And you never crack your eggs directly into your mixture, because if you get a shell in there, it's not good. So I mix them and I put my eggs in, and you add them 1 at a time and make sure it fully mixes in with after each egg. And what this is doing is it's going to incorporate air, and you're going to get a lighter, fluffier cheesecake. If you want a really dense cheesecake, you can go ahead and just add the eggs all at once, mix it quickly and go. All right, so our last egg is going in. And once that one's incorporated, you're going to want to stop the mixer, and you're going to want to scrape down your sides to make sure it all gets incorporated. So I'm going to stop the mixture. I'm going to drop the bowl. And we're going to scrape down the sides. We want to make sure that all that cream cheese gets the egg incorporated. You want to make sure, again, that you end up with no lumps, because you want that silky, creamy texture of your cheesecake. And then I've still got some lumps, but I'm seeing some of the batter picking up on the side, so I just want to make sure I get it all out, because it really is important to get all those lumps out of there and off the batter, off the beater and everything. You want to make sure that that all goes away. All right. And now I'm going to take my beater out. I'm going to scrape all that extra cheesecake mixture off into the bowl. How's it taste? Ooh, that's yummy. So our batter is ready. This is our prepared pan, and we're just gonna take this and we're gonna pour the batter, the cheesecake filling, the batter, into our prepared pan. And you're gonna get that in there. And what you're seeing is not lumps. It is absolutely just air and bubbles, which is a good thing. So we wanna get all that in there, nice and even. Get it all out of your bowl. That's the important part. You want to get all of this out. No man left behind from a cheesecake perspective. Why would you want to do that? Oh, I'm drooling over here. All right, and we're gonna move this cake around a little bit, and it's okay. You want to cover your crumbs, so you want to just get this out there. If you got some crumbs showing, that's okay, but you do want to get at least some of it covered, the edges a little bit, so if it does separate, it doesn't separate a lot. So this is our cheesecake. This is gonna go, let's try this. Right, yummy. So this is gonna go in an oven, 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour, but you want to keep an eye on it at 45 minutes. And what you want to do is the second that the edges start to brown, and you're done. Don't let the whole thing go. Once the edges are just starting to brown, it's good enough. So come on, let's go put it in the oven. Center rack in the oven, 350 degrees for 45 minutes.
Okay, so to make these glazed peaches, candied peaches, however you want to call them, we're going to start out with a little bit of butter in the pan. I'm going to use about that much. Thought I was going to use the little one because it's a healthy cooking, right? Yeah, no such luck.
No, this is decadent this time.
So we're just going to get this melted down real quick. It shouldn't take too long. And to that, once it does go, we've got brown sugar, and we're going to add that in. And basically, we're just trying to make the base of the glaze at this point. So the sugar will start to candy. When sugar gets up around 270, 280 degrees, something like that, it actually starts to harden. So you don't want to go too slow with this, but you don't have to be in too much of a rush. That should do. This is our brown sugar. And basically, you're really just making a caramel for your peaches. You just want to get it incorporated into the butter.
Yummy.
Yeah, right. And then we're going to add our peaches in. Turn this down to low, or medium low, because while it's pretty, we don't want caramel. We really just want a nice glaze on these. Oh, that smells really good.
Should you add a little bit of the ginger now?
Nope.
How about a little bit of pinch of salt to balance that sweetness?
Gross, it's dessert. Why would you want to turn the sugar down on dessert? What's the point?
Well, because it balances. Salt balances sweet. Sweet balances acid.
I think we all know I'm not the one in this house that's a rule follower when it comes to the kitchen.
This is also baking, which is my element, not yours.
There's going to be a lot of peaches on that sugar.
You told me that many.
So you just kind of have to let this go until it really starts to get a good glossy coat on the peaches, and you'll hear people say, until it coats the back of a spoon. And it doesn't really mean a whole lot, except for this. That's not it. See, it doesn't really show, it's not sticky, it's not anything. And you're going to want it to be a little bit on the sticky side. Oh, and safety. Safety first, right? Don't stick your hands in a pot full of boiling sugar. Unless you've done it a lot. Don't put your finger in the lava. See this kind of starting to change color in there. It's starting to get a little darker brown than it was. It's all starting to come together. And if you really look at the bubbles, still, they don't look like a normal bubble. They kind of look super fast, like high-speed bubbles. That is the sugar that's in there turning into candy. That's part of the process because it's actually boiling the liquid. And down inside the liquid, the water is boiling and it's having to push through the candy coating at the top. So that's why it looks funny like that, because the candy itself isn't going to boil like that. Here, try not to set the kitchen on fire. I'm going to put a little splash of rum in here. Ooh, angry.
You gotta love that Second City peach rum.
It is beautiful stuff. Support your locals. If you're around here, get to the Second City Distillery and get some of that. If you are not around here, Go find a local distillery and support them. Anyway.
You
Yeah,
can't say that on camera.
I'm gonna put a little bit of ginger in here. And my general rule when I'm seasoning with some seasonings, and ginger is one of them, is cook it until you smell it. I will shake it in there until I can smell the ginger, and then I know I've got enough of it in there.
And you can skip that part if you want.
No.
No, there's some people who don't like ginger. There's some people who are allergic to ginger. They can skip it.
Nobody's allergic to ginger.
There are people allergic to ginger.
All right, you can see in the bottom of the pan here, and you kind of drag your spoon through it. You can see the liquid in there is kind of leaving an open space in there. When you do that, and that means it is ready. And you notice I'm missing an ingredient over here, and that is the vanilla. Never put vanilla into anything that's actually actively boiling, because that is beyond its temperature. And the second it hits that, it's just going to evaporate. So if you cook with vanilla and you put it in before the heat, you are evaporating your vanilla in open things like this. If you put it in like a cake mix or something like that, it's protected in there. But in an open pot like this, or an open pan like this, if I put this vanilla in here, it is just going to burn off the second it hits that pan.
Not only that, it is going to burn, and it can give you a bitter aftertaste too.
So now we've got our boiling stock. We're going to add just a little bit of this, just about a teaspoon. And that's it. We have candied peaches for the top of the cheesecake. Yum. Oh, it smells so good in here.
It is. Guys, I wish you could smell this kitchen right now. It
is one of the secrets of cooking, is how to pair flavors in a pan like this. You've all seen shows like Chopped, and you go, oh God, there's no way. What do I do with that? And what are they going to do with that? I don't even know what that tastes like. It's one of the tricks that chefs know is the flavor profiles are more important than the name. And in this case, the sugar and the peaches are great together. Brown sugar and peaches. Well, guess what rum is made out of? It's made out of brown sugar. Guess what else is in that rum? Peaches. So it's a perfect match. Ginger is a good match because it's very sharp. It's got a very, very bitey kind of flavor to it, and peaches have a really rich, earthy flavor. So it's a nice, it offsets it, and it's really nice, and the vanilla just kind of accents everything all together. The butter isn't in there for a flavor. The butter is in there to make that. It makes things silky.
It's too hot. I want to try it.
It is wildly hot right now.
I know. I want to try it really badly.
And you notice I'm kind of walking it down, and we're not on the heat. And I'm kind of waiting for it to stop steaming a little bit. Because if you don't, all the liquid's going to settle to the bottom, and it's going to turn into a giant brown sugar and rum Jolly Rancher. Which, I mean, that's not a terrible thing. Let's be real.
But that's not what we're going for.
But that's not what we're after. So I'm just kind of trying to make sure it doesn't just turn into concrete in the pan here.
Alright, our cheesecake is done and ready to come out of the oven. And it's just got a very light brown on it, and it's going to jiggle a little bit in the middle, and that's okay. You don't want it to be overcooked. So it's going to have a little bit of that light brown around the edges here, and that's okay. Like I said, it's going to jiggle a little bit in the middle, and that's alright. Let's go ahead and make our crumble for our cheesecake. In my frying pan, I've got 3 tablespoons of butter melting. And then over here in my little chopper, I've got about 2 cups of pecans. And I'm just going to mix those together. Just get them to a thicker, you want them kind of chunky, but not completely obliterated. Alright, now we're going to toss in our pecans. And we want to get these to be coated, almost like we did with the peaches. But you want to get them coated because you want the butter to coat them before our next step. And what you're doing is you're just lightly toasting these pecans at this point. Alright, so we're just going to get those nice and evenly coated. And then we're going to toss into that, you just want to add a pinch of salt. Not too much, just a little pinch. It's going to break up some of the sweetness that we're going to be adding in a second. And then we're going to drizzle in about a tablespoon of honey, and we're using our local Dry Creek honey because we really enjoy the flavor that they get from their product and their bees. And as we like to tell you, try to stay local and support your local artisans, your local crafters. It's really important to do that. Do this, we're going to add about a quarter, I've got a third of a cup of, between a quarter and a third cup of flour. And what this is going to do is this is going to give you that little bit of crispness. And you're just going to mix that, stir it up. And you want to make sure that that flour completely goes away. And you're going to just cook this down just a little bit because you don't want that flour flavor. And we're also going to add about a teaspoon of granulated sugar. Now you can use brown sugar in this. I prefer the granulated sugar in this application. But just about a teaspoon because you've already put that teaspoon of honey in there and you don't want this too sweet. You don't want it to overpower. And we're just going to toast this up. Let it cook and you'll be able to see when this starts coming together. All right. These are nice and toasted. You can smell that toasted pecan in there, a little bit of the honey. And you want to make sure that you keep this on a low enough heat because if you turn it up high, trying to get them to toast faster, you can burn it. And you definitely don't want to do that. And for now, we're just going to let this cool just a little bit. We still want it to be warm, but not too warm. And we're going to go and we're going to assemble the cheesecake. Our cheesecake, looking delicious, has been sitting overnight, so we're going to take it out of its spring-form pan, and we're just going to make sure that the sides are loose, just like that, and you're going to reattach it. And the reason you do that is we're going to add our topping. The very first thing we're going to grab is a spoon. Oops. And we're going to just take those peaches that we made, they're cooled, and we're going to lay those in on top. And they don't look as pretty as if we had put them on last night because they've been sitting overnight, but they smell just as good as they did last night. And we're gonna let this sit just for a minute while we go make our topping, our crumble topping, which is pecans and sugar and honey to complement what we've done here. So it's already there, and I leave it, like I said, I leave the ring on at that point so that as I'm putting the toppings on, it's not falling all over the place. There's our cheesecake. Here's our little nut crumble that we had. And we're just going to take that and we're going to put it on. And they look a little bit darker. I did overcook them just a little bit because I forgot to take them off the stove top. They're not burnt, but they're a little bit darker than I would have liked. And we're just going to pour this over the top. Even though husband said not to put too much, but they actually don't taste burnt, so too bad for him. And this is going to set, and now, see that? There's not as much is going to fall off because you left that ring on it. Look at that. Like, some are going to fall. You just take these, whoop, you can put them on top if you want, and then we're going to cut into this, and we're going to plate. So I've got my plate over here already, and we're going to take a sharp knife, and you're just going to go in, and you're going to gently just cut into it, just like you would a piece of cake. I'm drooling already. I don't know if you guys saw that. And then we're going to come in, and this serves, yes, it serves one. He's laughing. But this actually can serve up to 12 people if you cut it right. Small pieces, but we're going to cut this. And you want to make sure you get all the way through. And the good news is, if the first piece looks bad, that's your practice piece. And you don't have to give that to anybody. And somebody's already grabbing a fork. Now I didn't cut it big enough for the spatula that I took out, so I'm just going to use our knife. And look at that. Look how pretty. Look at that. I'm going to plop that down right there. And a good thing for this, you can put a little bit of whipped cream on top, or you can put a drizzle of honey on this, especially if you have a ginger infused honey. It's fantastic. But let's see. Can I have a plate too? Do we have a...
No.
Oh, we're going to share.
That's your plate. This is my plate.
No. This is... We're gonna share. I get a bite first? Ooh.
Okay, that's your share.
That's yummy. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.